Hello everyone. So in this video, I will show you what is the use of @qualifier. So I will create here one scenario where we have to use @qualifier. So this is a simple example with one controller, and let's create one data processor interface. Let's create here interface data processor. Okay. So this is interface here. Let me write uh, one method like a string, maybe messages, and I will create one implementation class of this interface. Let's create implementation class. So here, what I will write is maybe like default data processor. Okay, uh, and here we can do that. So what I will do is here is just return a message like default uh, default data processor executed. Okay. So what will happen here is I will make it something like service. And what I want is I want to inject that data processor here in this controller. So let's say data processor, and I will call this message data processor dot process, and okay, let's write something hello. Okay. So what will happen here is I have created here data processor and I want to do this AutoWare. Okay. So when I start this application, basically what will happen, our Spring Boot will check, okay, data processor, is there any implementation for this one? So it will find, okay, there is a data processor here, default data processor IMPL, and it will create the object of that, class, and inject inside this object. Okay, so let's run that. So there is no error here, and let me just hit that, and I will be getting default data processor executed. Now the problem here is, in case if I want to inject, or I may have the different or multiple data processor. So I created one default one, and in case if I want to create one more processor here, let's create one more processor. I want to create something like AWS data processor. Okay, so AWS data processor, and simply just write here uh, the masses. What I want is AWS data processor executed. Okay. Now, if I will try to, just make it service. So I have a data processor here, you know, data processor interface, but we have two implementation for this. Okay. One is default data processor, one is AWS data processor. I want to try to run this application. What will happen? Let's see. I'm getting here exception. The consider making one of them bean as a primary, updating the consumer to accept multiple beans, or using qualifier to identify the which beans I want to actually inject. So basically, I have made this AWS data processor IMPL and default one. So both objects are created, and now there is a conflict. We need here in Hello controller, we need the object of data processor. Okay, but there are two bins. Okay, so what I can do is I can solve this in a two way. Basically, I can make one of this. I have two bits. Either I can make it primary, or I can make this one as a primary. Okay, so that will be by default injected. But what I want is, I don't want to make it primary here. I want to inject one place. I want to inject maybe AWS data processor, and one place I want to make it, I want to inject default data processor. So what I have to do here is, basically I can write name of this bin. Okay, the by default the name of this bin is something like that, as a class name only. So but okay, let's make it bin. And here also in AWS, what I want is, I want to make the bin this one. Okay, so still my problem is not yet resolved actually. The same, the bean is injected. So here I will have to tell, okay, if I have two beans, which one I want to inject, I will have to tell to the Spring as a container. So I mean the Spring Boot. So here what we can do is we can use qualifier. Okay, and here we can just tell the name of that bean, which one I want to inject. See, if I run, there will be no any error. Okay, so there are the two implementation, I mean two beans are already created. So what, which one will be injected? So it will be AWS data processor IMPL will be injected. So how can we verify? Here is, let's see here, we are seeing AWS, meaning when I'm calling this data processor or process method, so the method is executing inside AWS data processor. Let's say if I want to inject this default one, okay, so I can go here and I can just paste here and let's run. Okay, so there's no error, but this time, see, default executor. Maybe in some scenario, what you want is, I want both here. Okay, so let's say here I want to pass one query or path param. Okay, path variable. Okay, is string, and I'm passing some messages. Okay, so based on message, what I want is like AWS or default. Okay, or something is processor will be passing here. So what can I do is, if message dot equals in our case AWS, okay, then execute AWS, else execute default one. Okay, so what can I do is I will have to inject both. I will have to this create two times. Okay, so maybe here I can write something default data processor. Okay, and here something AWS data processor. So here what I will do is I will take here in hello controller this one. So both I have. Okay, so here what can I do is AWS data processor dot process. Let's write masses, and here default data processor dot process. That's right. So what will happen here? I'm using both. If you see, okay, if you see, I'm using both. Return. So I'm using both based on condition. Okay, so here I, the default will be injected and AWS will be injected, and I will pass one path variable. So to pass the path variable, I will have to write here slash masses. Okay, and let's run that. So there is no any error, means both are injected. Which one I want to use based on masses here? So if I'm passing AWS, let's say AWS processor is executed. Else condition, I can ask ABC, or let me write default one executed. It means both are injected. In this one, default bean is executed, injected, and here AWS is injected. So this is the use of qualifier. If you have two beans of the same type, multiple beans, okay, more than one, then there will be conflict. To resolve that, we can use here what? Qualifier. In the same way, let's say if you are connecting to two data source you are using. When you are connecting to AWS, you are connecting to a DB2 and Postgre. So in this way, you can create multiple data source and you can inject here. Or if you have REST template, if you want, you have multiples, one is secured and one is without secure. Okay, so in this way, you can create multiple bean and you can inject using qualifier. So that's it in this video. If you have any doubt, just add in comment. I will try to reply there. Thanks for watching.